Good morning, folks. I hope you're having a very blessed day today. This is something extremely new for me that I'm trying out, so I have my laptop as well to assist, so I'm actually going to read off a script. But as you can see by the title of this video today, it's a little different from our POV recipe short cooking videos or mukbangs, but this is more about mindset, and specifically the subject matter that I would like to delve into today is about how to become a better chef. Now obviously there are various ways in which one can become a better cook or chef per se, like a million different ways, because everyone's journey is unique to themselves. But I wanted to dive into three main ideas which I guess all chefs or anyone in the culinary space will face or dive into. Is one, knowing of flavor and textures. The second point, number two, is culture and identity. And the third point being intuition. And as a bonus point that kind of links into all of these specific points, there is putting in the hours. Now with that being said, let's dive into this thing. First, foremost, numero uno, knowing about flavor. What's that saying again? Never trust a skinny chef. In part, not true. I believe nowadays a lot of chefs have a good understanding of health and nutrition, at least the ones that strive for longevity perhaps. Yet I digress. But the saying basically pertains to the fact that to know how to make good food, one must know what that actually tastes and feel like. You cannot replicate something that you have no idea of what the taste is supposed to be like. You may nail basic aspects of the food such as seasoning, but up and until you know things like mouthfeel, the balance of contrast, or those certain elements that bring an additional layer to the dish, a harmony. I do not think one can strive to achieve excellence without knowing where to look in terms of what defines excellence. Case and example. If I bring you a hamburger from McDonald's,
I would like to buy a hamburger.
I would like to buy a hamburger.
But then instead of a patty, I give you chunks of mince speckled in different areas of the burger. Wouldn't you find it weird or strange that one bite I'm getting a mouthful of mince, the next one I'm just getting bread? It's not a seamless experience that you're eating, in a sense that you're getting higher and higher and then something interrupts that state of flavor town, that explosion, that experience of eating it and that you want more. You're not being satisfied, so that experience drops, and like the happiness or that injection of flavor and texture is not uniform throughout. We as humans like familiarity, right? And that's the same in cooking. You need to think about that as the experience that you're giving to others. And how will you know that unless you know the burger and how it was initially? So that seeking that inspiration is, I think, ultimately very important. Although a McDonald's burger is not the best example to bring in this case, it is the most relatable, and I think that you can apply this set of the rules of knowing flavor to your specific regional foods and what you were brought up eating. Knowing how good food is supposed to taste and feel is the first stepping stone to achieving that in a kitchen environment, if and when you try to replicate the same. And now segueing into point two, is a not so obvious, but if you sit back to think about it, quite obvious point of knowing culture and identity that certain food stems from or comes from. Now bear with me on this one because it has to do with context, and I'll include my story into this to make it, I guess, somewhat relatable and personable. As a passionate home cook / amateur chef, anchoring yourself to culture and identity when it comes to cooking is probably extremely integral for your journey. Most cuisines are built around a foundation of spice mixes or techniques, basically keeping in mind what that certain region derives from their land. and what was or what is widely available in that area. And then fast forward, technological advances, industrialization and accessibility, modern day shenanigans, and you have a consolidated identity, a culinary cuisine identity. For example, India is known for its spices and heat in their food that has use of chilies, ground mixes such as garam masala, and use of earthen cookware. Pertains to how you get those pungent, smoky Indian flavors in your curries and dishes such as biryani. And on the other hand, in Japanese cooking, the access to the sea allows us a bounty of seafood that is so fresh. Just slicing it and serving it raw is customary. Or just grilling with salt on charcoal is a technique. At the core, it is simple, and that is quite uniform in Japanese cooking and culture. If you can get a grasp of the fact that cooking is something created by communities, and you can find a world of information on the internet, on YouTube itself, about these said communities and these ideas of where food really stems from for these pockets of people, then you're going to be miles ahead of the game. And apart from that, you may still read books. That is still an option and a resource that a lot of people begin to forget about now that we're in 2022 and that everything is at your fingertips. But books, I think, hold a world of knowledge on the culinary world. And the third point, which I guess is somewhat overlooked and something that is really about being in the moment, and after practicing the previous 2 points, is the third point of intuition in the kitchen. That gut feeling like when you eat something bad and it messes with your estomago. But jokes aside, something that is somewhat overlooked for the most part is knowing certain protocols to a point that you do not have to think about it. For example, when I add an element to a said stir fry, I realize that it is not seasoned with salt yet. But everything else in the pot or pan is seasoned with salt. Intuition will let you know that you have to add more salt now because you want that balance to shine throughout the dish. You don't want that one element of, say, I put mushrooms into my stir fry and I didn't put salt, yet everything is salted and the mushrooms stay bland, is like the analogy of the hamburger. It ruins the experience. You do not want to end up with something bland, and intuition is probably your greatest asset that you can develop. I wish I could tell you how to really become more intuitive in the kitchen, but that mostly comes with forming habit loops. And that brings us to our bonus point of the day. Editor, drum roll please. The basic idea of putting in the hours. Nobody achieved anything significant with their lives unless they put the hours in. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, and the same is applicable in a broad spectrum, and cooking is no exception to that rule. I cannot begin to tell you guys how many hours of my time have gone into exploring various techniques of how food tastes on a barbecue grill, or using an oven, or even cooking Thanksgiving dinners for friends when I clearly never celebrated Thanksgiving a single day in my lifetime. The fact of the matter in all these circumstances is that I stayed rooted in the process, putting myself in situations of discomfort at times to learn a new idea and micro skill within the realms of cooking. And that's probably the same thing with your favorite artist, favorite actor, favorite YouTuber even. They all had to put in the hours, slowly devising and reinventing themselves each time around. But the only way that can happen is if you start taking action. Practicing things till it becomes second nature in your head, and you can add more things that will ultimately become more habits. Start implementing this bonus point across the aforementioned 3 points and ideas that I have brought up in this video, and you will definitely start seeing results in the kitchen. You'll become faster, you'll become more knowledgeable, and overall you're creating a synergy for you to devise and innovate further. As always, folks, if you like this video and if you want to see more of this type of content of me being in my headspace and mindset and talking about certain aspects of how to become better at things, especially in the food spectrum, then do let me know. Comment what you think about this video today. It's the first time I'm ever trying talking in front of the camera, and I guess this is also a way to say I'm putting the hours in. But do let me know. Like, comment, and subscribe. And up until next time, folks, this is a goodbye and ciao.